This one's kind of an oldie, but I think it's a goodie because it was recommended to me by you guys. So let's check it out. E-girls who are horrible criminals. This one should be interesting. It's a bit long. We're doing a couple of longer ones today, but that's okay because I've caught my second wind now that I'm into the stream. So let's check this out and see. Well, chat, be prepared to rage, I'm thinking.
Girls just want to have fun. However, some girls' idea of fun isn't very fun for anyone else. It's not uncommon for content creators or influencers to get exposed for thinking that the popularity of their online presence will let them get away with murder. What is uncommon is that some people take the murder part a bit more literally than the average Instagrammer with an inflated ego. For a select few, being arrested for petty crimes, scamming people, or being mean to a fast food clerk just doesn't cut it. They have to move far above and beyond those mild misdemeanors. Today, we'll be looking at some examples of how looks can be deceiving.
Okay. Spinster is not... Granted, now, things have changed recently with Finn. Things have changed. Because Finn has come out. So things have changed with Finn, but this was well before Finn came out. So, and that's what I was going to say, Eki. I don't think Finn is going to be on this list because Finn has been nothing but great. The Finn has been nothing. Finster Shadowclaw. Finster is male, but has been dressing and kind of almost presenting as female for several years, and actually just recently came out as, within the last few months, came out as being transgender and or gender fluid. I think there's kind of still a question mark in there, but Sin has gone on E and is currently on E and is going through HRT. So I don't think Finn's using female pronouns yet. And yeah, I mean, Finn is gorgeous. I know a lot of girls that are incredibly jealous of Finn's looks because Finn is just gorgeous.
And how even the most seemingly innocent individuals can be hiding a dark secret. If you just dig a little beneath the Snapchat filter, these are the e-girl killers.
Well, considering I don't think Sniper Wolf has killed anyone, I doubt she's on this list. And yeah, Firestorm, Finn is a gorgeous human. He's done, I'm gonna say he because I think he's still using male pronouns for himself. I don't think he's switched over to female yet. But he's done so much. Like, he tried to do that transgender charity that ended up becoming a shitstorm, unfortunately. And yeah, Finn is just a great individual.
One of the more popular genres on TikTok is cosplaying. Many young fans of anime, video games, and other media have garnered significant recognition and followings from just dressing up as their favorite fictional characters.
Potato, I guess an e-girl could be categorized as... Yeah, typically speaking, I think an e-girl is thought of as like an emo goth type girl that streams or that does TikTok or YouTube. That's kind of what is considered an quote-unquote e-girl, generally speaking. I think maybe like, but streaming is, I think streaming is a requirement to be considered a quote-unquote e-girl, but it's like emo / goth.
Such is the case of Marianne Oliver Snow, better known by the online monikers Snow the Salt Queen and Yandere Freak. As the second name suggests, Mary would often dress up as characters who were yandere, which, if you're not familiar with weeb vocabulary, means being overly attached, stalkerish, or otherwise obsessed with a potential...
Yeah, the ultimate yandere right here, from Mirai Nikki. That's oh, you guys can't chat. You can't see it because chat's in the way. But they've got a photo in the corner here of from Mirai Nikki. So
significant other, to the point of engaging in psychopathic behavior in order to gain someone's love. This was the main premise of the game Yandere Simulator, for example, which was popular on gaming YouTube
Well, I
a while
remember
back.
this game.
Mary's videos would go on to attract widespread attention, ultimately resulting in the garnering of over 1 million followers on the platform. One of the most popular personas Mary adopted was that of an anime villain named Junko Enoshima. Junko,
Yeah,
in the
she
universe
is
of
dark.
anime and the video game series she's from, is presented as unhinged, violent, and often unpredictable, at times portraying herself as a ruthless antagonist, and at others, acting as an innocent yet charismatic schoolgirl. What was a little concerning is that Mary often played into many of the characters they cosplayed as, to the point that they were being referred to as alters. For those of you who are fortunate enough to be unaware of what this means, it has become somewhat of a trend for many TikTokers to have alternate personas that they supposedly slip in and out of at any given time, usually under the guise of having the extremely rare mental illness known as DID, or dissociative identity disorder. While the actual condition is seriously life.
I've also heard about this really stupid fucking thing. I forget what it's called. I saw a video on this. It's where these is from Mirai Nikki. Mirai Nikki. Um which is Japanese for, I think, future diary is what it is. I think that's what the translation is. I think it's future diary. Uh it's yeah. So it's a very it's a kind of twisted anime, it is. But it's interesting. And there was someone may know what it's called. I forget what it's called, but it's like where these people are basically either pretending or they're forcing a psychosis onto themselves where they're basically, it's not meditating. It's almost like they're going to sleep and they're basically dreaming. They're basically calling dreaming like transferring into another universe or something like that. It's like they're creating these nut jobs are creating a psychosis out of literally dreaming. No, it's not astral projection. It's some stupid TikTok. The not astral projection. No, that definitely not. They're actually just dreaming, but they're referring to it like I'm transported to another world or another universe and I'm a completely different person and I want to go back there. And it's like, but they're acting like this is some kind of like, well, like kind of like a new age thing, like what people used to talk about when they were referring to like astral projection or something. It's not even hypnosis. For the life I can't remember what it's called. It's incredibly stupid, but they're basic. But it was it's basically they're reclassified dreaming to sound like they're cool. Basically, they're calling they're calling dreaming something cool and like out of body experience ish to sound cool on TikTok, and it's incredibly stupid, and it's the TikTok generation doing this.
Destructive, it's unfortunately been co-opted by attention-seeking teenagers, whose idea of being quirky is pretending to be mentally ill, which, if you didn't know, is a mental illness in and of itself. The same way communities like that of Tumblr normalized and romanticized being depressed so much that they ended up self-inducing it, TikTokers are doing the same to DID, which is a major red flag and a sign of recklessness. Mary would become friends with Helen Rose Hastings, a girl who shared her love for cosplay and anime. The two would become good friends, often collaborating on TikToks and taking photos with each other, something they'd continue to do for years. Mary first encountered controversy in 2019 for cosplaying in a graveyard, which was seen.
Thank you, Eki. Shifting. Yeah, they call it shifting. Thank you, Eki. Yeah, they're calling dreaming shifting so they can sound cool. And it's incredibly stupid, and it's obviously a desperate cry for attention. It is a look at me, look at me.
Seen as very disrespectful and tone deaf, causing Mary to be widely criticized for it. But that was only the first of Mary's many scandals, who, over the years, would receive many other accusations from various figures in the community of being toxic behind the scenes. Regardless of this, Mary's relative popularity and success in the cosplay community would continue to grow. Though it was never a secret that Mary carelessly played around with dark and disturbing things on social media posts, this would soon begin leaking into her real life, manifesting far outside of cosplaying. One night, when Mary and a group of friends, including Helen, were watching the TV show Gotham while smoking weed and drinking copious amounts of alcohol, Mary stated somewhat fortuitously that they had the same handgun as the Penguin, and proceeded to show it to the group, who began passing it around recklessly. The weapon had been left there by Mary's ex-boyfriend.
Oh, no. Chat, you know how I feel about firearm safety. You know how I feel about that subject. Oh, I'm not gonna like this. I'm not gonna like this one bit.
Bang, 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 bang.
Yes, Ace, that, exactly.
And according to him, the gun had never been fired and was completely safe, as he had removed all of the bullets from the gun, leaving it unloaded. The group allegedly started waving the gun around as a joke, pointing it at each other and laughing as they did. Unbeknownst to any of them, the gun was actually loaded, a mishap that would soon change the course of the lives of everyone present. At one point, Helen jokes that Mary should point the gun at her, as if to kill her, saying, "Oh, shoot me." Mary complied, but when the trigger was pulled, the gun went off. Though it didn't have a magazine in it, the firearm had a bullet already loaded in its barrel, and with its safe
chamber, Turkey Tom. That is called having a round loaded in the chamber. And yeah, you can already hear Scott yelling from across time.
Off, the gun shot straight through Helen's head, much to the group's shock and dismay. After frantic calls to the police for medical care, Helen was taken to the hospital and was kept on life support for 2 days.
Scott, Brandon, Matt, Rich, all of them.
Yeah. You're right. Every single one of them across time was screaming.
Before tragically dying there. As a result of this, Mary was taken into police custody and charged with manslaughter, but was released on bail 5 days later. This extremely tragic accident could have easily been prevented in a myriad of different ways, had the safety been left on, or had the group exercised even a modicum of caution, and most importantly, if...
Okay. Here's bruh. The weapon in question may not have actually had a safety. Many firearms these days don't actually have a safety. So, unfortunately, that are depending upon which kind of weapon she had. Now, if it was a weapon that does have a safety, yeah, I mean, a lot of weapons don't actually. A lot of handguns don't have safeties. Not only Glock. 6 Hour does not. 6 Hour does not. Typically does not have a safety. What's another one? What's another one that I'm familiar with? Smith & Wesson does. I know a lot of Smith & Wessons do have manual safety. But Glock, 6 Hour, who else? Beretta does. Beretta, CZs? Yeah, and 6 Hour also has a decocker. Correct. So there are many firearms out there that don't have. Oh, wait. Okay. The Pico model of Beretta does not have safety. Okay, yeah. Okay, I got. Okay, I see what you mean. I thought you were speaking about Berettas in general, like generally speaking. Yeah, certain models, like manufacturers make certain models that don't have safety. So no, Albert, it's not an obligatory thing. Not at all. Not at all. Many, that's as is the case with many handguns. They don't have safety. The only ones where a safety is standard that I have seen is single action weapons. Single action firearms, in my experience, always have two safeties: a thumb safety and a drop safety, or otherwise known as a grip safety. Those are the only weapons that will 100% of the time actually have a safety, because the hammer is always cocked back and the trigger pull on it is rather light. So there you go.
If Mary's ex-boyfriend hadn't left his loaded gun in the care of someone who was not licensed to own or...
Yes, Ace, that's what I was saying. A 1911 always has a safety. Two safeties. Thumb safety and grip safety, otherwise known as a drop safety. Yes. And yeah, I mean, I've preached it for since I've started talking about guns on this channel. If you're gonna clear a weapon, you drop the mag or pop the cylinder, and you always check the chamber. Every time. Treat every weapon as though it was loaded. Even if you've cleared it, you treat every weapon like it's loaded. You do not point a firearm at anything you do not intend to destroy.
Or use it, this could have been avoided. Given all of this undeniable negligence, one would expect Mary to feel a good deal of guilt over it. This is where the story becomes a bit confusing, however. After a brief 3-week-long hiatus from the usual social media posting, Mary would return as if nothing had happened, despite facing charges for having murdered someone. This blasé attitude was so thorough that Mary would go on to attend cosplay conventions. And as baffling as it was, most people simply did not know the story of how Helen died whatsoever. Most users just assumed Mary's hiatus was nothing more than a break due to mental health or otherwise personal reasons, and thought nothing of it as they continued to watch the content. Of course, nobody can hide from a crime as serious as this forever, and after Mary's court documents became public roughly a year later, many began to criticize the cosplayer. The fact that Mary had carried on with the typical posts on TikTok seriously did not bode well, as it seemed like the ultimate display of a lack of empathy and regret over what had happened to Helen. It is also a possibility that those things were outlets for Mary to temporarily forget about the accident and deal with the trauma of having taken someone's life. But whatever the case may be, the backlash was severe enough to result in Mary privating and then soon deleting all social media. As of late 2021, Mary was standing trial for her friend's death, and the outcome of the case remains unknown. However, the story still serves as a grim reminder of how important it is to practice firearm safety.
6.
Melissa Turner was a Florida native who, in her teenage years, struggled a lot with body image issues. Her weight was often a source of insecurity, and she lacked confidence in her day-to-day life, something that many people can relate to. As she entered her early 20s, Melissa would go through college, accumulating a great deal of debt from student loans, but failing to gain anything that would land her a job, leading her to become frustrated and depressed. However, rather than give up, Melissa decided to seek out an alternative source of income. She would begin working out and eating healthier, and soon after, developed an interest in online cosplaying, which would manifest in her posting photos online, encountering relatively mild success. In 2013, she met someone by the name of Sin, a man who would soon become her boyfriend, and the two seemed to have a healthy relationship. As this was happening, Melissa's career as a cosplayer began to take shape. She often dressed up as various pop culture characters, something she would become known for in the online cosplaying community. Over time, Melissa would come to learn of the success many other women online had experienced in the pornographic world. While completely different in nature, her experience and audience developed from creating content as a cosplayer would help.
Oh shit, this just reminded me. Okay, chat. Real quick. Do you remember the video that we reacted to? About vegan booty the other day? Do you remember that? Yo, the schizo vegan girl? Okay. Fun fact. So we were trying to figure out how the hell she was making all that money that they were talking about. Jameson, I've got the video is on YouTube. I did post the video of the react on YouTube if you want to watch it. But you know we were talking about like how the hell is she making all this money? I did a little digging after. Yep. OF. She did OF. That's where she made all her money. Is from OF. So I forgot to mention that. And Dinosaur Enjoyer. Thank you for the follow. I'm gonna say Velociraptor. That is my standard answer. I do like Velociraptors. Even though I know they're not like they're not like Jurassic Park ones. If I'm gonna talk about real life, probably the Utah Raptor. So yeah, she was huge on OnlyFans, and that's how she made the money. So I just remember that when bringing it up in case anybody didn't know.
Help her quickly find footing in the genre, officially making her a cam girl. Under the name Two-Thorned Rose, she would release lewd photographs and videos of herself, and also participate in the production of numerous adult videos, which would successfully hit its target audience as her social media presence would grow exponentially, earning her a fan base of people who would continuously praise her for her looks. With all of these people paying for and promoting her content, she finally gained.
And I will say, I have no objections to the fact that she did adult videos. I do not disparage any man or woman that chooses to partake in adult in being in an adult video. I have no objection to that whatsoever. It is a thriving industry and will continue to be a thriving industry forever. So I don't think that her being in adult movies, I have no problem with that. It probably made her some decent money, and good for her. Good for her.
And financial stability, and far above it. Over time, she decided to become independent as far as content creators are concerned. Instead of relying on getting jobs from pre-established companies, she started to monetize the pictures and videos she published of herself cosplaying on her own website, which is now defunct, twothornedrose.com.
Yeah.
This was a time before sites like OnlyFans were popular platforms for sharing this sort of content, so Melissa was, in a sense, trailblazing this wave of similar camgirl operations by trying to make it on her own. She also decided to make a YouTube channel around this time where she posted videos such as, "Watch me swallow a 10.5-inch sausage, no gag reflex." Unsurprisingly, her channel didn't last long and was soon deleted off the platform for posting mature and sexual content. Though even then, for the brief time her channel was up, she did get some amount of success on the platform. As time went on, her boyfriend Sin became more and more involved in the process of content creation. This move, though having worked out at first, eventually would come to backfire on Melissa, as the involvement of business and money in their relationship rendered it somewhat toxic, ultimately causing the two to break up, which dealt a serious blow to Melissa's business model. Despite this loss, Melissa would soon meet another romantic partner in 2017 named Matthew Trussler. Their relationship initially seemed quite positive, as Matthew was known by his family and friends as a caring individual, and he provided Melissa with love and support during one of the most tumultuous periods in her life. The relationship was going so well, in fact, that in December of 2018, she moved into a 2-story home with her boyfriend Matt in Florida. From an outside perspective, it seems like Melissa was living in the happy life she'd always dreamed of. However, as time went on, tensions between her and her boyfriend began to grow. Despite the happy portrayal on social media, their involvement would soon meet the same fate as Melissa's previous, deteriorating into pure toxicity as Matthew grew so focused on his relationship with her that he had essentially become isolated from his family and close friends. Their arguments would become more frequent and aggressive, and many—
Well, I mean, I gotta say, if the argument stemmed from the fact that he was focused on their relationship, which caused him to be isolated from his friends and family, and if she was not forcing that, that's kind of on him. If that is indeed the case, that's kind of on him, not on her. Not knowing any context beyond what's being presented here, I can't find any fault with her in where they started to fight. Now, granted, it's the context is everything, and we're lacking in a significant amount of context, but that's just the way I see it.
who lived nearby would allege to often hear shouting matches between the two. These tensions would eventually culminate in October of 2019, when Melissa had called the police, claiming that she had come home and found Matthew dead on their patio. Despite the best efforts of paramedics, Matthew was too far gone, and was declared dead soon after. As stated before, Melissa said that she had found Matthew like that, and had no idea what happened to him. At first, her story seemed plausible. When Matthew was found, analysts determined that he'd already been dead for a long stretch of time, and in addition—
Well, Firestorm, that's the question, because according to what Turkey Tom just said, he was focused on the relationship, which caused his relationship with his family and friends to get strained. And that may have sparked arguments between them because maybe he was catching it in the neck from family and friends saying, hey, why don't you ever talk to us or anything like that? And that stressed him out, and that would cause a short fuse, and they would argue, but who the hell knows? There could have been something going on her end at the same time, where maybe she was too focused on her career and he didn't appreciate that, and God only knows.
In addition to this, it wouldn't make sense for Melissa to kill him. While the couple had arguments in the past, nobody would ever assume that it could have escalated to that level, and Melissa seemed genuinely distraught about the ordeal. However, after being brought in for questioning by police, Melissa changed her story. Her new story was that Matthew had come home extremely drunk, a fact that upset Melissa. She alleged that, after an argument between them got intense, Matthew attacked her, lunging at her with a kitchen knife with the intention to kill her. She claimed that she had grabbed the knife and killed Matthew in self-defense. Despite this new story seeming plausible on the surface, police grew suspicious as to why she didn't just tell them the truth from the beginning, and decided to investigate further. After searching, they discovered a camera that was being used by a neighbor, who was close by at the moment of Matt's death. While the police footage obtained from it did not show any visual evidence of the encounter, it did pick up most of the audio. The exchange that was recorded presented a much different story than what Melissa was saying. Based on the recordings, Melissa was actually the first one to scream at Matthew, and not the other way around. To make matters worse, she was repeatedly threatening him and saying she wanted him to die, accompanied by various loud noises. In addition to this, many of the injuries Matthew sustained were indicative of someone who was acting in self-defense. Melissa's wounds, on the other hand, were not nearly as severe in comparison. All of this, on top of the fact that she had waited for over 4 hours to call the police and report what had happened, and then pretending that she had no idea what had caused Matthew's death was, beyond the shadow of a doubt, an indication of her guilt, and she was soon taken into custody to await trial. Soon after the events took place, numerous outgoing phone calls Melissa had made from jail were recorded by authorities without her knowing. In some of these calls, she bragged about the
okay. I'm gonna make a correction on that. Because anytime the phone calls that she made were not recorded without her knowing. Because every jail in the country, every jail and every prison, the phones that inmates or prisoners are allowed to use to make phone calls have a giant fucking sign right over them in eyeline that says all calls are recorded. So this is not she didn't know that the calls were being recorded. Or she just chose to ignore that sign. Because it is made very widely known with signage that says you are being recorded. So I'm gonna call a bit of bullshit on that phrasing.
thousands of dollars she had made off of her online career, and overall showed very little remorse for the killing of her boyfriend, which did not go a long way to give the jury a positive impression as far as her innocence went. Over the next few years, Melissa would go through a lengthy trial, in which she would claim that Matthew was abusive, depressed, and was struggling with alcoholism, and that she was actually the victim, going on to say, "I loved him and I didn't want to do that to him. The last thing that he wanted, he always tried to hide his drinking, his mental health, and how depressed he was. He tried to hide it from everyone. The last thing that he would want was for the world to know any of it." Though her story was corroborated by her mother, who claimed Melissa took the abuse in silence, there simply was no evidence to support Melissa's claims. And in 2022, she was officially sentenced by the court to 20 years in prison. It goes without saying that her career has been long over, with her website and most forms of social media being deactivated or suspended, with this tragic incident putting a full stop on all of it, leaving Melissa with much more than student loans to worry about.
Quick pause. I gotta run real quick, went in the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in just a second. Okay. I am back. Okay. Shall we continue? Yes, Draconian. The yap is flowing.
Some people blame the legacy media as being responsible for the glorification of criminals and their path of destruction. If you buy into that train of thought, then social media magnified it to the umpteenth degree. With the rise of true crime communities, it's become easier than ever to find information on serial killers, and unfortunately, their respective sycophantic fandoms. One Google search of a name will yield.
Okay. Flat out, romanticizing serial killers is not new. For anybody that's done even a small amount of research, this was happening back during like the Charlie Manson days. And yeah, the John Wayne Gacy days. They were, yeah, John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, all any of these, psychopathic serial killers had like bunnies. They had serial killer bunnies that thought they were hot, and yeah, Ted Bundy, yeah, all of them. they have girls that will go crazy over them and like will profess their love for them. It's the 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 internet did not spawn this. The internet just made it much more widely known. The information was much more easier to access. But fangirling over serial killers is not new. Wait. Firestorm, please tell me there's not someone actually named Wade Wilson in Florida right now. Do not do this to me. Do not tell me there's an actual, like, a killer named Wade Wilson. I will be very sad if that is the case. And for those of you who are confused by this, oh, fuck. So for those of you who may be confused, oh, he's the one that looks like the tatted up Joker. Okay. Yeah, so for those of you who are confused by I'm sad that this individual's name is Wade Wilson, that's Deadpool's name. Deadpool is Wade Wilson. This is why I am sad about this. Fuck. Oh well.
Yield thousands of results, including their motivations, history, and every other detail you can think of. While all of this easily accessible information has certainly led to more attention being directed to notice potential red flag behaviors and prevent similar crime sprees, it's also led to the unintended side effect of making the job of copycat killers easier.
Yeah, J-Rocks, but he's a lovable violent killer, and he only kills bad people. He does not kill good people.
Anyone who sympathizes with a killer is now capable of knowing exactly how to reproduce their idol's MO step by step.
Charlie.
Case in point, German 19-year-old Sarah M. Sarah's full name and identity have been hidden for the most part due to restrictive German privacy laws, but this hasn't at all hindered her actions from garnering attention from onlookers on the internet. Originally born in Switzerland, Sarah was your stereotypical young girl. She took pride in her appearance, was well kept, and had a minor social media presence. During the year 2017, Sarah would repeatedly get in trouble with the law for excessive drug abuse. It's documented that she was often completely uncooperative and antagonistic towards authorities, often hurling insults and antagonizing them. Additionally, she was found to have swastikas drawn on her hands, which is strictly illegal in Germany. Eventually, this penchant.
Well, yeah, you're not going to find much more illegal in Germany than having that particular symbol drawn up, than you drawing that particular symbol. Like, Germans get very triggered for very good reason when you do that. I remember did we watch a video on stream here of someone who actually did the you know what salute and immediately got bodied by a whole bunch of German police officers. Like, they took this guy to the ground. The second he did it, because that's not something that they will take. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, Firestorm. Point of fact. The swastika is actually a bastardized version of an actual religious symbol. They just they basically reversed it. The swastika is basically a reversed Buddhist symbol, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm remembering my religion correctly. So, yeah.
Of hers for breaking the law began developing into an obsession with two American serial killers, namely Ted Bundy and Richard Ramirez. For those unfamiliar with their crimes, Ted Bundy was a serial killer and rapist with a victim count so extensive that he himself wasn't even sure of how many people he actually murdered, though police estimate it was upwards of 60. He usually targeted young women, luring them by feigning some kind of physical injury, and when they offered help, he'd kidnap them. As for Richard Ramirez, he would break into people's houses in order to kill them, racking up 15 victims in total. Sarah's obsession became so great that she would plaster posters of their faces in her room, as she would begin thinking of her own plot to become an infamous serial killer herself. One thing Sarah was obviously very aware of was that she was physically attractive, and when she started fantasizing about becoming a killer, she realized that this could be useful. Her plan would be then to, under the promise of sex, get her potential victim in a vulnerable position and then kill them before consummating the act, and to repeat this formula as much as possible before being caught. The then 19-year-old girl set up an online dating profile under the pseudonym Domina Cherry and soon selected her victim, a 38-year-old man by the name of Zayed. After matching with her and striking up a conversation, Sarah began to flirt with him and suggested that they finally meet. Zayed agreed, and he soon picked her up from her apartment, not knowing he was heading towards his untimely doom. While he was driving, Sarah pulled out a knife she had purchased 5 days earlier and plunged it into his neck. As this was happening, Zayed managed to grab the knife from her and stop his car, but he soon succumbed to his injuries and fell into a coma. He died while in intensive care 3 weeks later. Sarah attempted to flee to a nearby town, but was soon caught by police, who found her covered in blood. The news completely shocked those in the community, and the case soon began making international headlines.
Like, okay. Of course you would bring up praying manti. Peace. Here's the question, and we'll see if Turkey Tom actually talks about this. Where the fuck were the parents with all this? Where were family and friends? She plastered her fucking walls with serial killers. At what point did someone go, this girl might need some professional help? This obsession with serial killers is not a good thing. So, where were her family and friends in all this? 'Cause there were some pretty obvious warning signs. Yeah. Oh yeah, this was definitely some Black Widow shit.
It was later discovered that on the day she planned to murder Zayed, she had excitedly messaged her friends about how she was about to claim her first victim. When brought to trial, many were shocked at her appearance. She was dressed in newly purchased clothes and had taken the time to do her makeup, something no one would not expect from someone who was on trial for murder and could potentially lose her freedom for the rest of her life. In addition, she had drawn a pentagram on her hand, which was inspired by Richard Ramirez's court appearance in which he did the same, and shown it to the press as they took photos of her. Though whether she was doing this because of genuine satanic beliefs or just to get a rise out of people is unclear. The teenage murderer showed virtually no remorse for her actions, and was later sentenced to 12 years for her crimes, which is honestly quite a short sentence for
Yeah, that surprises me that she only got 12 years for premeditated murder. Like, I don't know. I do not know. And like, this isn't even in America where they just assembly line it through. This was in Germany. I think. I think he said it was Germany. Wait. They don't fuck around with stuff like this over there. Okay, Albrecht, have a good one. Gee, what the fuck?
premeditated murder, especially considering that her 12 years will not be served in an actual prison, but a sociotherapeutic facility. This is due to the fact that just 2 months prior to the murder, she had been diagnosed with having borderline personality disorder, as well as strong suicidal thoughts.
Now, the concept of her getting locked into a mental institution instead of like actual prison, I have heard of this. I've seen a couple of I've seen like a couple of like quote unquote prison videos from over in Europe, and some of them are uh, specifically designed it like almost like the anti-North American prison system, where it's designed to very, very much rehabilitate someone. Obviously, this young lady is probably not rehabilitatable. And, but, you know, a psychiatric facility, if it is secure, yeah, that is probably, honestly, that's probably where she needs to be versus an actual prison. Because she needs to be medicated. 100% she needs to be medicated. So, and in Tokyo, that's where they put her. They put her in the loony bin. Eki, I'm wondering if it's the Netherlands that I'm thinking of, where it was like very humane, focused very much on rehab. It could be the Netherlands that I'm thinking of with the video that I saw.
Which prevented her from being condemned into an actual penitentiary. As a matter of fact, her defense attorney was asking for 8 years, so we're actually lucky that we even got 12. While the death of her victim is tragic, she thankfully was not given the opportunity to claim any more lives, and will hopefully serve out the entirety of her prison sentence without harming anyone ever again. However, given her behavior and lack of remorse prior and during the trial, I have a strong feeling we could be hearing from her again after her release. Yuka Takaoka, who has given her actual name as Yuno Kaede, is a 21-year-old half-Chinese Japanese woman.
Already a great start, giving herself the name of the Andre from Mirai. Great start.
Who worked at Tokimeki Binbim, a Tokyo-based girls' bar as they're commonly known in Japan. This meant that, besides working as a hostess, she'd be available for going on dates with the patrons. That is, if they were willing to continually pay for it as they went on with it. As of the writing of this video, it seems that the bar is still open for business. Because the business model hinges almost entirely on how popular any particular hostess is, they're paid commission fees, meaning if they want to get more customers and make more money, they have to go out of their way to be attractive or unique in some way. Yuka would frequently post videos and photos of herself to Instagram and TikTok, cosplaying as anime characters. But not any anime characters, specifically yanderes, once again. Her videos showed her dancing at her workplace, visibly drawing the attention of many of the clients in the establishment. Her popular social media posts received a lot of encouragement from her employers, not only because they worked insofar as growing her online presence, but it also promoted their business, which was always visible. Her success was enough that, by age 21, she was already managing the
Yeah, Icky, that's the one that I'm thinking that I remember seeing about. Yep.
place. This brings us to the next member of our story, a man by the name of Luna, as he was known in his line of work, whose real name might be Ryugetsu, or Ryuzuki, as he's been referred to in a few Japanese news articles. Luna was in the same profession as Yuka, but in another bar called Fusion by Youth, in the red light district of Kabukicho, where he provided the services of host and boyfriend for rental. To put it mildly, Luna caught Yuka's attention and she grew increasingly infatuated with him, to the point where she poured thousands of dollars into him, hiring him as her boyfriend for an entire month, which, as much as it pains me to say, is not as uncommon of an occurrence as you may think. Because of her continued devotion to him, and partly because of the massive amounts of money she had spent to keep him around, Yuka and Luna soon began a relationship outside of their careers. As the story goes, Yuka took the relationship much more seriously than Luna did. This isn't that surprising since, after all, the relationship began only because of Yuka's obsessive spending habits. For him, she was little more than an object of money than anything else. In addition, as one of the most successful hosts of the bar he worked at, Luna was often flirting and interacting with other women who paid him to do so, a fact that greatly bothered Yuka, despite her own job requiring her to do the same. She began to grow more and more jealous of Luna and
Well, I mean, the whole concept of I'm going to hire a girl to go on a date with me. Right? We're not into the realm of prostitution yet because there is no horizontal mambo involved. But like the very notion of if your love life is that bad that you need to hire someone to go on a date with you, that's what you're starting off on the completely wrong foot. And it's only going to get worse. Because the person that is with you in that situation literally is there only for the money. And it's all a lie. So that's not healthy. Oh, you have ads? Oh, you don't have a sub anymore. Oh oh God, I didn't realize. Oh, okay. Hang on, let me see if I can determine when the ad's over. I can't tell. Shit. I can't tell when the ad. Hopefully it's a short one. I hope it's a short one. I will try and stall as best as I can. 'Cause I can't see if how long the ad is. So I will do my best to try and just stall. Um, but yeah, yeah. And then yeah, and Shadow Claw in some respects, like I've heard okay, good, great, Eki. In some respects, Shadow, like I understand why some people uh hire prostitutes
Oh.
because they
Oh,
hello
hello.
baby
Baby Jeebus
Jeebus. Thank you.
1234 gifted a tier 1 subscription to
Thank you, baby
Ecolosis.
Jeebus. Mwah. Thank you. Uh, no more ads for you, Eki. Haha. So okay, so what I was saying is, when people I've heard of people that that do hire prostitutes literally just to sit and talk with them for the time that normally would be spent doing boinky boinky. Uh, yeah, it's like I've heard the stories like where they need someone to talk to, and they need a sympathetic ear. And in that respect, I can kind of appreciate doing the hiring the girlfriend to going on a date, but this is like an actual date. This girl is like actually taking her out on a date. This is not a prostitute where you're going to play, Maxis Olympics. So it is a bit different. Um, because with this girl, she would actually be getting taken out onto a date. So she would have no incentive to listen to her date's problems because it's expected that she would be taken out somewhere and that things would be purchased for her. Whereas with a prostitute, you're going to a hotel or a secluded spot or something, there's no expectation beyond the activity. So if the activity is just sitting there and talking, the prostitute in question is probably going to be much more inclined to be very open to listening to you and offering a sympathetic ear and a shoulder to cry on if need be. Because there's no expectation of being taken somewhere to do things. Leonard, well, we're discussing this particular girl on the screen who is kind of a quasi prostitute, without the sex stuff. And I've been using very colorful expressions for that. Uh, and I was comparing it to how like prostitutes don't always just get hired for sex. I've heard of cases many times where the people who hire a prostitute literally just want to talk and want to have a sympathetic ear to kind of vent and talk about their problems. And that's kind of where that snowballed into. But no, Firestorm, that's already in. That's on YouTube. You don't need to pay for that. That's on YouTube. Well, and Leonard, that's what this girl on screen is. That's literally what they said that she is. She is a rent-a-girlfriend. That's exactly it.
his habits, as she felt she was entitled to his undivided attention and felt he was growing cold and distant. On May 20th, 2019, Yuka began renting an apartment, and 3 days later, Luna offered to help her clean and organize it, but arrived 3 hours later than the promised time, without giving an explanation as to why. Luna's mysterious absence made Yuka very suspicious and paranoid. After he went to take a bath, she would give in to her curiosity and start looking through his phone. Much to her chagrin, her fears would come true as she would find images of him being intimate with another woman, something that was far beyond the typical purview of someone in his profession. This pushed her well over the brink and into a jealous frenzy, as the man whose attention she'd spent exceeding amounts of money to attain was cheating on her. She would go on to wait until he fell asleep in her apartment, and so he did, not knowing what Yuka had in mind. Suddenly, he would wake up to an intense pain in his abdomen. When examining it, he saw that a knife had been plunged into his stomach, and that it was Yuka who put it there, prompting him to sprint out of the apartment as fast as he could, and nothing but his boxers. Though Yuka did give chase, he successfully fought her off and made it to the lobby of the apartment building before collapsing in a pool of his own blood. pleading for her not to kill him. Yuka didn't call the police, but it didn't take long for other people in the premises to call and notify them that a man had just been stabbed at an apartment complex. Strangely enough, the town they were in, Shinjuku, already had a pretty grim history of suicides and murders, as it wasn't exactly the best area. Police officers would arrive only to find Yuka calmly using her phone and smoking a cigarette while covered in blood, failing to even deal a final blow to a bleeding out Luna. The photos taken were widely circulated online, with Yuka's calm demeanor and attractiveness contrasting with the incredibly violent and gory act. She made no effort to pretend she wasn't responsible for what had happened and was immediately taken into police custody, saying in her defense only the following words: "Since I loved him so much, I just couldn't help it. I thought I would kill him because I thought that was how I could be with him. I thought that expressions such as, 'I like you' and 'I would like to be with you' would become a reality if we both died. I did not want to go anywhere, so I sat down at the outside staircase. I did not call emergency services because I intended to kill myself after watching him die from the stabbing. It was the one thing I put in order in preparing for a new life with him. After I stabbed him, he said he liked me. An unintended consequence of
Wow. Yeah, she is a real life yandere. Holy fuck. She is the. It's hard to tell if she was the inspiration for yandere, or if yandere just clicked with her on such a deep level. Holy shit. Yeah, that is 1 week trip to Looney Town on the short bus. Holy shit.
this newfound infamy is that many have now flocked to Yuka's social media pages out of a morbid fascination with her. She was soon referred to by many as a real-life yandere, with many romanticizing her crime and creating fan art of her. There was even a GoFundMe page that managed to raise $3,800 to pay
And the response is just as crazy. Like, let's romanticize the psycho yandere girl and make fan art of her and raise bail money for her. Like, this is as bad as the last one who was fangirling over serial killers. It's the same thing. Holy shit. Well, yeah, Shadowpaw, it's the same thing with the male serial killers. That's why they've got so many groupies, because you've got women that are going, I can fix them, and it's like, what the fuck? You need help. Welcome back, Plug.
for her bail. Additionally, it seems that people online were thinking the person who reported the crime was the criminal, to which she replied, "You're not the Umi criminal. Don't stab me. Don't be silly. I reported it. If my friends get stabbed, you'll be the second person covered in blood." On the other hand, Luna was taken into medical care soon after the stabbing and, luckily, managed to survive the ordeal without any medical complications, which is quite a feat considering the doctors gave him a mere 20% chance of survival due to the injuries to his internal organs. Soon after recovering from his surgery, Luna would go to his Twitter account and make a few posts about what had happened to him, though they are no longer up. In them, he announced his survival and that he'd be returning to work, attaching an image of himself with friends. He would also post a picture of himself with the caption, "Phoenix Luna," his new moniker in celebration of his surviving his near-death experience. Regarding the incident itself, he would say, "Strangely, I felt no pain, but I was shocked and frightened. I thought I was dead. I lost consciousness when I got to the lobby. I don't remember the rest. I thought that I would die if I got stabbed anymore, and I wanted to call an ambulance. I knew she liked me, so I thought it would stop if I said that I liked her." In surprisingly good humor, he complains that because most of the damage done by the stabbing was to his liver, he could no longer drink, to which his colleagues who were visiting him in the hospital would reply, "If you can't drink, we will on your behalf." Luna would add that he didn't hold a grudge against Yuka, saying, "I think there was a reason for her to stab me. It was also thanks to her that I was able to achieve the sales that I did in less than a year since I became a host." In the ensuing trial, Luna accepted the compensation of 5 million yen from Yuka, the equivalent of about $50,000 in the US. He admitted that it was wrong for him to have cheated on her, and that the incident was partially his fault, asking for a more lenient sentence for the real-life yandere. Yuka was given a later sentence of about 3 years for attempted murder, and is currently serving it out in prison. It's unknown whether Luna is still working in his current profession, or what he's done since the stabbing, but hopefully, Yuka does not go back to her yandere days when she gets out.
Well, it's a small amount, but you're you can't think in North American dollars. So maybe it's not such a small amount in Japan. I'm more shocked by the fact that she only got 3 years for attempted murder. That shocks me more. And the fact that so many, people, including her victim, went to bat for her. Like, what the fuck? She needs to get locked in a mental institution. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Eki. In Japan, 5 million yen is like when you convert it to U.S. currency. Maybe it doesn't sound like a lot, but in Japan, it's the economy's different in Japan. So, but I mean, it's like holy shit. I mean, 3 years in prison instead of psychiatric facility. Like, this is one that needs to be in a goddamn psychiatric facility. 100%.
Isabella Guzman was a girl who, unfortunately, grew up with a broken family. Her parents were divorced, and because of this, she had a very tumultuous childhood. Her mother, meanwhile, Yoon Hoi, sent her to live with her biological father, Robert Guzman, when she was 7 years of age due to behavioral issues. As the years passed, Isabella eventually moved back in with her mother and stepfather, but the bad blood between the two continued. Isabella's behavior often got her in trouble, eventually leading her to drop out of high school. Her relationship with her mother was anything but healthy, with the two arguing frequently. During a very bad exchange between the two in August 2013, Isabella spit in her mother's face and threatened her, and in fear for her safety, her mother called the police. When the cops arrived, they would try to get Isabella to understand the severity of her actions, but to no avail. In an effort to get her daughter to stop antagonizing her, Isabella's mother called on her father to visit, as their relationship was much more stable. Robert recalled that the conversation seemed productive at the time, and that he had made progress as far as teaching her to be respectful of her mom. However, this effort would soon turn out to be in vain, as Isabella would take the tensions between her and her mother to a new extreme. On the night of August 28, 2013, Yoon Hoi returned home and told her husband Ryan Hoi that she was going to take a shower in the upstairs bathroom. Soon after, Ryan heard a scream from his wife and rushed to see what had happened. When he arrived, he saw Isabella slam the bathroom door shut.
Okay, I have a question. What part of this particular story is this one an e-girl? I have not seen any evidence to the fact that this girl is an e-girl. She's just a very mentally disturbed girl who I'm guessing has just killed her mother. Now, I mean, Shadow, they said, the video said that she had a good relationship with her father, but she had a very poor relationship with her mother. Yet for some reason she moved back in with her mother. I don't understand why, but where in this is she an ego? I've yet to hear anything about her being anything up the, in that vein.
He tried to open the door but was unsuccessful, and after seeing a pool of blood seeping out from underneath the door, he decided to rush to the phone and call for help instead. While this was taking place, Isabella walked out of the house without saying a single word to Ryan or even acknowledging his presence. When medical assistants arrived and the door was breached,
Shadow, I don't think the mother was terrible. I don't think I don't think that was the issue. The she just did not have a good relationship with her mother. They may have been like antagonistic to her. So I don't think there was necessarily something for her father to protect her from. It was just a bad blood between the two of them. That's what we're getting so far. Now, we've still got about, 13 minutes left in this video, so maybe there's more to it.
a bloodied baseball bat was found next to a deceased Yoon Hoi. It was
Oh,
later
shit.
found that her throat was not only slit open, but that she had been stabbed a total of 151 times, an excessive display of
Furry fuck. That goes beyond some psycho shit. That is fucking berserker rage quality homicide. 150 times? That's what we said, right? 150 times? No, that's beyond overkill. That's that's hyperkill. That's hyper combo. I mean, that's like I holy shit. I don't even have the words to express how fucking batshit insane that is. Like, stabbed over 150 times and beaten with a baseball bat. What the fuck? Yeah, yes, Eki. Yeah. Holy crap.
Of violence that nobody could have expected. Isabella was caught the next day by the police and was immediately brought into custody. When the day of her court hearing arrived, she had to be forced from her cell to the courtroom and continuously made odd faces toward the cameras, almost mocking those watching. Relatives of Isabella were shocked. Her aunt, when asked for comment, stated that while tensions between her and her mother were bad, she couldn't believe Isabella could be capable of such a crime, going as far as to claim that Yoonmi Hoi had spoiled her daughter. During the trial, it was discovered that Isabella allegedly suffered from schizophrenia and had attacked her mother in a bout of delusion. She had suffered from intense hallucinations, and her defense claimed she was not even aware of the fact that she was killing her own mom. While one by
Well, if she was... Okay. So if she had a mental disorder like that, that would certainly explain it. Maybe she, instead of seeing her mother, she was seeing like a demon from hell or something. If that is true, that would explain a lot. And it would also explain why she may have had such an antagonistic relationship. Well, yeah, and Eki, that's why I said if true, because it is a pretty classic defense to try and use with this. So that's why I said if true. So that's, we'll see if there's more that comes about this. Um, it could be. I mean, defense attorneys, one of the first things that defense attorneys will usually try to go with in any homicide case is they will try and do a not guilty by reason of of insanity or mental defect. That's the first thing that they'll try to use, and they're claiming schizophrenia. That, of course, would require a psychological evaluation to determine if it's true or not. Now, let's see if they actually do that.
might be skeptical of this, her reaction to her stepfather confronting her as well as the excessive amount of violence used did add credibility to this claim. The plea worked, and Isabella was transported to the Colorado Mental Health Institution in an effort to rehabilitate her. At this point in this segment, you might be wondering how she's an e-girl, or what her online significance.
Thank you, Turkey Tom. Yes, I asked that very question. And yeah, Eki, there was no mention of a psychological evaluation, so I'm skeptical now myself.
Even is. Well, in a strange turn of events, the trial would become viral on TikTok in 2020, with clips of her court hearing exploding on the platform. Initially, most of these TikToks were short summaries of her story from true crime and TikTok accounts. Later on, more comedic videos would be posted to the website, pointing out the juxtaposition of such an innocent-looking teenage girl being capable of committing such a heinous act. These strange faces she had made were the source of confusion for many, and her status as a viral meme resulted in renewed interest in her story. In 2020, Isabella publicly requested to be released. The stipulation of her sentence was that she had to stay in the hospital under supervision until she was no longer considered a threat to herself or others, and she argued that she had achieved that goal. In June of 2021, her request was finally granted, and she was permitted to leave the mental health institution while continuing regular therapy sessions. When asked for comment, she simply stated that if she could take all of it back, she would. Hopefully, she never reoffends.
I'm sorry, but her going viral does not make her a D-girl. That part, just because she went viral, that doesn't make her a D-girl. It doesn't. And How long? I missed. How long did she actually spend in the mental institution before she asked to leave? I missed that part of how long she actually spent in there. Hang on, let me back it up.
And her status as a viral meme resulted in renewed interest in her story. In 2020, Isabella publicly requested to be released.
When did she commit her crime? I don't want to go back to the entire video. It was 1 year, perhaps. Fuck.
Stipulation of her sentence was that she had to stay in the hospital under supervision until she was no longer considered a threat to herself or others, and she argued that she had achieved that goal. In June of 2021, her request was finally granted, and she was permitted to leave the mental health institution.
I wouldn't let this fucking psychopath out of her padded white room even if they managed to get her mentally stable again.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, Eki. Bearing in mind, this is according to this video, and there may be facts that we're not privy to. According to this video, she was let out because she said, I'm better now, and I'm not a danger. There has to be a truckload of psychological care documents to back that up. Even as fucked up as this situation is, where no, she should not have been let out of that hospital because she brutally murdered her own mother. There has to be a crap ton of psych reports to back up her statement saying, I'm better now, I'm not a danger. Because as fucked up as the US criminal justice system is, they're not going to let out someone that stabbed a person over 150 times just because they say, I'm all better now. So I'm guessing there's got to be documentation to support this from psychologists and therapists. But even still, like yeah, this is just fucking nuts. I I'm not even gonna dive into that show. I'm not. Uh, that's yeah. I'm not even diving into that. It can be Firestorm, but given the fact that she was in a lockdown mental facility for homicide, my guess is they probably weren't they probably weren't lightweights in terms of psychiatric care. They probably were specialists that dealt with this exact kind of thing. And Shadow, in a lockdown psychiatric facility that's specifically housing criminals, no, they're not going to have DEI because they're not going to give a fuck about DEI in there. They're going to have psychiatrists, they're going to have therapists in there specifically that are dealing with violent offenders. DEI is not even in the realm of a possibility in these situations. No.
While continuing regular therapy sessions. When asked for comment, she simply stated that if she could take all of it back, she would. Hopefully, she never reoffends. Courtney Taylor Clenney was born in the late 90s.
Yeah. Could she have bullshitted her way past the psychologist? Yes. It is entirely possible she could have bullshitted her way past the psychologist. It's happened in the past. I will not say it's not possible. But it's not. In DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's the whole reason why what you may recognize it from is basically this current state of Hollywood where everything is agenda driven and everything like that. That is DEI. That was these therapists, these psychologists in this particular institution, where this girl was being treated. It would not even been effective. Not out.
He's in Midland, Texas. At the young age of 13, she decided she wanted to be a performer, taking classes to learn how to sing, dance, and act. Her parents initially wanted her to be involved with sports in some way, enrolling her in activities like horseback riding and gymnastics, but they supported her preference. In her teenage years, she managed to get roles in theaters such as Snow White and Glinda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz. Besides the odd part in a commercial, most of her acting during this period never made it to TV. But after graduating, she moved to Los Angeles, where jobs for aspiring actors are relatively accessible, eventually getting cast as an extra in a couple of movies, namely Boyhood and Everybody Wants Some. Around this time, she also appeared in the music video for the G-Eazy single, Me, Myself, and I. Unfortunately for her, all of these roles were small, often going uncredited and unnoticed altogether. It was during this period of multiple years languishing in obscurity that caused her to start looking somewhere else for what she could do with her talents. The fact that she was blonde, blue-eyed, and relatively fit due to her athletic background led her to explore what she could do with her looks, which first landed her in a bikini competition, namely the 2016 MPC West Coast Classic. She had an impressive first go at competing, winning 6th and 9th.
A very pretty girl. She is a very pretty girl, and that shot, where'd it go? Let me, like this shot right here. I tell you what, she's a banger of a girl here. This kind of reminds me of crap. What's her name? Oh, I've lost the name. The one from Wild Things and Starship Troopers and oh shit, what was her name? And shit. Okay, this is gonna bother me. Hang on. I must know this because otherwise it's gonna bother me until the end of the night. Denise Richards. Tell me she does not look like Denise Richards right here. Like a young Denise Richards. She 100% does. But she's a beautiful girl.
MPC West Coast Classic. She had an impressive first go at competing, winning 6th and 9th place in 2 different categories. More importantly, the reward for this endeavor was much more immediate than anything she'd gotten from acting. A while later, she entered another contest called MPC Brew City, in which she got first place. This meant she could enter national competitions, but at this point,
Oh. Maybe it's the way she's standing, but holy freaking waist to hip ratio. Damn! This girl's banging. This girl is banging without question. She is gorgeous.
Courtney had a different idea in mind, given she already had an online presence through YouTube and other social media platforms where she would post vlogs and updates to her preparation for the competitions. There was a growing demand for more pictures of her body. Her Instagram alone had well over 1 million followers by the end of 2016. This culminated in Playboy magazine inviting her to a photo shoot, and Courtney took them up on the offer. Despite how that may sound, it wasn't anything explicit in nature, and according to a video she posted in 2018, she never intended to do anything nude. But as we'll come to know, she definitely changed her mind on this.
She did OF. She did OF, dear indeed. Mia, I'm not 100% sure the booba are fake. I'm not 100% convinced of that. But it's possible. It's certainly possible. Doctors these days are very skilled in that area.
When she made that claim, OnlyFans had only been around for 2 years and wasn't even close to the peak in popularity it would hit around 2020. When the potential for profit was too obvious to ignore, Courtney too would lose her reservations about it. Within a year of posting to the platform, she'd amassed almost $1 million.
Yeah, this is a
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, absolutely, Walt. She won the genetics lottery, 100%.
Which also came with an alarming personality change. Though people were already noticing a difference in Courtney's demeanor all the way back in her videos from 2018, from polite and ambitious to crass and arrogant, it wasn't until OnlyFans that she became completely detached from reality. All of the money and attention she was getting online had gone to her head. A year later, in 2021, Courtney took another step further in the realm of explicit content, producing straight-up adult videos. This skyrocketed her career, with her social media.
And again, Nothing wrong with it. I don't disparage her one bit for doing OF. And I don't disparage her for doing porn. I don't. She's got the edge. She's fucking gorgeous. She's sexy. If she wants to use that to her advantage to make money, God bless her. I don't think most people should think badly of anybody that chooses to do that. Why not? If you got it and people are willing to pay for it and you're happy doing it, God bless you.
Media growing by the millions, along with her bank account. Now, she also had a boyfriend, Christian Toby Obumseli, a fellow Texan who got rich off of getting into Bitcoin early. Courtney always made sure to portray her relationship in a good light, but it would soon become clear that this couldn't be farther from the truth.
Aiden.
Something that her friends, acquaintances, and even neighbors at the time noticed was that, when Courtney got drunk, she became a very different person. As it turns out, this was a long-standing issue, with Courtney being arrested for public intoxication all the way back in 2015. The problem would resurface in 2020 when she got arrested for a DUI. She was released after paying an $8,000 bond and installing a breathalyzer in her car, but that didn't stop the alcohol from affecting other areas of her life. More and more, people would witness Courtney's episodes of drunkenness.
Okay, depending on when this was taken, the theory that she got a boob job might hold water, because granted, her arms are raised like this, and that does affect how the chest stretches. The top is not doing any favors for trying to tell. Maybe she did. Maybe. Yeah, I believe it's Courtney something. I can't remember what the last name is.
And often, these would come paired with public spats with her boyfriend, Christian, who wasn't the aggressor, but the victim. They began with offhand remarks and demeaning statements, but eventually, these altercations became physical, with Courtney slapping Christian as a means of reprimanding him. Neighbors would complain about several explosive fights where they'd hear screaming, door slamming, and glasses breaking. In one instance, Courtney threw Christian's things off the balcony. In another, a neighbor of theirs caught Courtney swinging at Christian, scratching his face. A while after these incidents, they moved, but the abuse continued. Just a month after settling into their new place, Courtney was caught on camera being extremely violent towards Christian, who did nothing but defend himself. According to their new neighbors, Courtney was yelling at Christian so much they could hear it from 2 floors above. As tensions escalated between the couple, Christian began secretly recording their fights, and in an audio posted to TikTok by TMZ, Courtney is heard screaming at him.
Oh, hello.
Spartan 134
Sparky,
gifted a tier
thank
1
you for the
subscription
gifted.
to Fire.
Aiden, no more ads for you. Make sure you say thank you to Spartan.
Slapping him and calling him the N-word multiple times.
Adam, drop your high pitch.
Okay, I'm not doing it on purpose.
You touched the heart. You know damn well the right thing to do is to tell me.
Yes, and I am so sorry.
So shut up and let me f***ing slap you, dumbass.
No, you're not gonna slap me.
Good boy. And that's a harsh voice, too. I'm thinking that drinking did something to her vocal cords, too. Because that's a harsh voice coming out of her. Oh, God. Well, Shadow, because contrary to popular belief, men are victims of domestic violence the same as women are. They are, men very often are the invisible victims when it comes to domestic violence. Because, and they can become victims of it because, well, potato, for the same reason that women will continue in the relationship when they're the abused, is they love the other person. They don't want to believe that this person is going to continue to be this way. I can fix them. It's the same rationale when it comes to why women remain in abusive relationships also applies to men that remain in abusive relationships. It's tit for tat, and men often are the invisible victims. So Tao, it depends on the circumstances. But yeah, so it's Eki, I don't know about that percentage. I do know that the percentage of male domestic violence victims is a great deal higher than anyone realizes. Which is why I say that they're invisible victims, because you know, generalized society thinks a man can't be a victim of domestic violence because they are a man. So,
On the topic of crazy women, I remember back in high school, there was an incident where one of the girls attempted to poison her ex-BF's new GF by spiking a DP with antifreeze. According to what was reported, she took a sip and got it reported.
fuck. Yeah, this world's crazy. This world is crazy. Chat, come join me and regain sanity, please. Regain your sanity here. I will not make you crazy, and I'm not crazy. Haha.
Bang, 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 bang.
I'm perfectly sane. Or, and chat, tell me if you get this one. I'm feeling much better now. That's a bit of a deep cut. If anybody gets that, I'll let you know what it was after the video.
On a few occasions, the police were
That's
called,
good,
one of
Snowman.
which there's even body cam footage from one of the officers for. In it, Courtney's heard accusing Christian of stalking her, but the cops refrained from doing
Okay, I think that the boob job theory just got blown out of the water. Hang on.
officers for. In it, Courtney's heard accusing Christian
Look at that. I know we're staring at her tits, but they're they look to have too much of a natural droop to be a boob job. This top this top does it. They look like they have too much of a natural droop. So I don't think she got the boob job like we thought. I think she's au naturel. I do.
of stalking her, but the cops refrained from doing anything about these accusations.
Well, here-
Courtney's heard
God,
is
we're
recalled,
focusing
one
on
of
this
which
way too
there's
much,
even
but-
body cam footage from one of the officers for. In it, Courtney's heard accusing
Right
Christian
there.
of stalking her, but the cops refrained
Yeah.
from doing anything about these accusations since, when the apartment was examined, it was obvious that he lived with her. A day after, law enforcement once again showed up, but
You think so? I don't know. I think they may be real. But it doesn't matter. She's a psychopath anyway, so it doesn't matter.
this time, it was different. The call
Okay,
didn't come from a
40%.
rattled neighbor,
Okay.
but from Courtney herself, who told them that Christian was stabbed, while he could be heard in the background fearing for his life and saying he couldn't feel his arm, while Courtney repeatedly apologized. When the cops showed up, she was covered in blood and holding his body. Despite being rushed to the hospital, he passed away due to the knife wound in his chest. Courtney was arrested and brought in for questioning, which we also have a video of. In it, she's visibly desperate about the situation as she realizes the gravity of what she's done. In her despair, she gave multiple, inconsistent retellings of the incidents, and perhaps most importantly, without the presence of a lawyer in the room. While she initially claimed she'd stabbed Christian in self-defense, there were no signs of bruising in her body to back the claim up. And according to forensics, the knife was thrusted in a downward motion, which went directly against claims that she'd thrown the knife at him from 10 feet away. However, the interrogation ended abruptly as Courtney began threatening her own life. Because of local laws, people with that kind of risk can be institutionalized even in a situation such as hers, and as such, she was put in a psychiatric hold. The thing is, when this holding period ended, she wasn't arrested again, so she was free while awaiting a homicide trial, which is quite the extraordinary circumstance. A woman who was familiar with the
Snowman.
case saw Courtney at a bar with her dad and confronted her.
Right now, you should go. Yeah, you should go. You just know my boyfriend. Yeah, you did. Yeah, and yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
As negative attention kept piling onto Courtney's case, she went to Hawaii and bought a house worth $1.3 million. This was most likely done to transfer the money into an asset and hinder it from being seized. Her
Well-
lawyer spoke to TMZ, reiterating Courtney's claim that she stabbed Christian in self-defense, adding that he had been abusing her for a long time. Meanwhile, a GoFundMe page was opened by his family to fund the arrangements for his funeral, raising over $80,000. As the couple's online history was unearthed, a few particular comments from them became the topic of discussion. For one, when she was a guest on a podcast just weeks before the murder, she mentioned her preference for black men in a way that suggested she was still single, which at the time she definitely wasn't. On the same token, a series of tweets from Christian surfaced that involved him
What is tweets from? Hang on, let me back that up.
she definitely wasn't. On the same token, a series of tweets from Christian surfaced that involved him disparaging black girls.
These are fan of boyfriends.
On the same token,
What is this? This is her boyfriend? What? Well, yeah, Shadow, he was, I don't think he was abusive considering there's audio of her, that audio we heard of her saying, "Let me slap you." Yeah, I'm sure. But this is fucking odd right here, because this apparently is coming from the boyfriend? Like, the boyfriend who is black is being racist against black people? Huh? I'm confused. Torkatown, please explain this to me.
series of tweets from Christian surfaced that involved him disparaging black girls, along with others in which he glorified white women. Though he had made most of these in high school and in passing, the Tariq Nasheed types were merciless, essentially saying he deserved what happened to him because of the things he'd said. On August
For fuck's sake. Well, I mean, that's Twitter. I shouldn't be surprised. That's Twitter. Of course it is. It's just like what we're seeing right now. Yeah, Twitter is about as reliable a narrative as the Joker.
August 10th, 2022, a whole year after the murder took place, law enforcement finally managed to break down the wall of litigation that Courtney's defense had put up to keep her out of jail, as she was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Forensics showed
Hey, Pluto, I wonder.
that, based on the amount of blood on the crime scene, it took a while after stabbing him for her to realize what she'd done and call the police. Additionally, she was on call with her mother for the entire duration of the fight, and she confirmed that Courtney was accusing Christian of lying and telling him to leave the apartment. A few months later, Courtney went to trial and pled not guilty. Just 3 days after that, a multitude of new evidence would surface, which made her look even worse if that was possible.
Oh boy.
The couple's text messages would be shared with the public, and they showed that this wasn't the first time Christian was the victim of a stabbing. Messages of his from October 2021 said, "This crazy thing about all of this is that yesterday when you stabbed me in the leg and you saw how bad it was hurting me and I couldn't walk and I couldn't do what you were telling me, I wish I could take your pain away. I wish it was me and not you. The next morning, I still woke up happy I still gave you a good day, and even though my leg was hurting because my girlfriend stabbed me, I woke up happy I took you to Vegas. Drove right back, helped you shoot, drank with you, and did blow with you just so you're having a great day, and I'm doing all of this while my leg hurts so bad. Did I make you feel like for stabbing me? No, I just sucked it up and hope tomorrow will be better."
And here you go. You asked how someone like that could stay with a girl who abuses him? There you go. Because he still loved her, and he was still dedicated to her, and he was like, I can fix her. I want to make her happy. Those are the thoughts of an abused partner. I wasn't specifically referencing using it, Shova. Yeah. That epitomizes it. You know, what I was saying about how they, why they still stay with their abusers. That kind of epitomizes it. And yeah, it is mind-blowing, but it's, it's either external or internal psychological conditioning. And it's very sad, but this is the reality of when it comes to people in domestic abuse situations. This is why they stay.
A later message read, "What if the knife sliced my lip, my beard, my cheek, my eye? What might happen next time? I pray there is no next time like that. February was the worst month I had so far. I got cheated on, I got called that word again, I got slapped in my stitches that has reopened multiple times, and it's not healing fast enough. I've gotten kicked out." In another audio that was made public, Courtney is heard saying she literally wants to kill Christian.
I'm actually not having a good day, where I actually literally want to kill you, but you don't take me seriously.
Seemingly everything was foreshadowing that this would be the final destination of the relationship. While her defense team tried to get a pretrial release, it would be denied, as due to her OnlyFans wealth and previous trips to Hawaii, she was seen as a flight risk. The trial didn't just affect
I
her,
wonder
but her
why.
family, since it was discovered that right after the murder, she'd wired $1 million to her dad, which reinforced that they were trying to protect her wealth. Her father claimed she didn't have as much money as people said she did, alleging her net worth was just $11,000 in liquidity and a little under $400K equity in her house. Just 1 month later, Courtney was denied bail and left the court in tears, as she's currently looking at the possibility of a life sentence for her crime.
Uh,
So what's the moral of the story here? Well,
Yeah.
don't kill people. That's probably about it. As stated in the beginning of this video, we typically expect criminals to wear it on their sleeve, with face tattoos and whatnot, but looks can be deceiving. Heinous acts can be committed by anyone, and their appearance and sex can have nothing to do with it. Anyone could be a creep, anyone could be a murderer. This doesn't mean you
uh, well, Shadow, this video came out a year ago. So I'm guessing the court trial is over. My guess is she was found guilty. People have said that it was streamed on YouTube. So they may be able to tell you, but I'm guessing she was found guilty.
should accuse everyone you know of potentially being some kind of dangerous actor or get paranoid about it, but it's more to say that these people are human too. They're girlfriends, TikTok stars, and daughters. Does that mean we can forgive their crimes? Of course not. But it does bring us one step closer to understanding them and how to prevent these crimes in the future. In any event, I've been Turkey Tom. Thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.
Wow. That was something else. Holy shit.